And I just want to say something about Giannis real quick, adding his jump shot. Maybe a hot take. I don't know. I think if he adds a jump, like a real 3-point shot where he's like a true threat from there, I think we might be talking about a player that's going to have the highest peak of any player in NBA history in terms of skill, more than Jordan. I'm not going to say he's the greatest of all time. He doesn't have the accolades. But as terms of skill and peak, like what can you do to stop him? He's going to get you defensively. If he comes back down to out like a 3-point shot, he could shoot down the mid range. He's starting to make his free throws. He's dominant on the inside. What is the flaw in his game if he adds that? He's even not a bad passer. He has the ability if he needs to kick it out to somebody.
Is there a path in which Steph Curry can get to the top 5 greatest of all time?
In my opinion, Domantas Sabonis kind of overrated.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Devin Withers alongside my good friend Gary Sunnyberger. And welcome. We're here for season 2 of Deep from 3. In case you didn't check us out a few weeks ago, we are back. We are ready. We are excited for the new season. Gary, how you doing, man? One day until the opening night.
One day until opening night. I've been consuming preseason basketball, the highlights. I've been catching some of the games at an unhealthy rate. Basically, my entire YouTube and Twitter feed is just filled with like random NBA players debut highlights, and I'm consuming it all. I'm excited. Yeah, we're gonna be picking some NBA preview stuff today. We're gonna be doing some predictions. We got an article that came out. We're gonna be talking about that, and yeah, I'm excited for the season to start, man. Season 2, Deep Takes from 3, coming at you.
And you couldn't be more right. As Gary mentioned, we did just recently come out with a 2022 to 23 NBA preview. It has all of the best stuff that you could ask for. We're predicting the Rookie of the Years, the Defensive Player of the Year, surprise teams in the East and West. We're choosing the NBA Finals winners right now today to see if we're going to be right. And I know Isaiah's not here, but in this very article that we posted last year, Isaiah hit it right on the money. He guessed that the Golden State Warriors were going to win the NBA Finals, and guess what? They did, and he's never let us live it down since that prediction came true. So I'm looking forward to see what's coming true. I'm looking forward to see what's totally off, what's totally accurate. But before we do that, I do want to talk a little bit about, because it has been a couple of weeks, the Golden State Warriors were a topic of conversation when we were last on the pod, but for completely different reasons. We were talking about them as NBA Finals favorites, and now it seems like all that we can talk about is, one, the drama that ensued between teammates Draymond Green and Jordan Poole at a practice, and then immediately after, about a week later, both Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins got their respective bags. So let's start off with the actual drama itself. Gary, when that video dropped from TMZ, what were your initial thoughts? I know for me, like, if I was on that team, there's no getting past that. How did you feel?
I honestly, I was ready to downplay it when I heard the initial news come out. We've heard, I mean, in the past, Steve Kerr, literally the coach of that team, has talked about how Michael Jordan punched him in the face in a practice in the 90s. We know that some of these, scrimmages can get a little testy, a little angsty. These people are, trying to compete for their new contract or prove something. And, even though they are teammates, stuff like this does happen. But boy, did it not look good at all. I mean, this dude, Draymond Green, literally like cock and back sucker punching this guy, Jordan Poole. Not only did I feel bad for Jordan Poole as somebody who, I'm definitely scared of getting punched in the face. I don't think there's anybody out here that's like, give it to me. And if you are, seek help. But Jordan Poole, honestly, I don't know how you as a teammate overcome this act, whatever you want to call this. We joked last season that the Isaiah Stewart, LeBron James, I think I called it a kerfuffle because it wasn't really a fight. You can't really call that a fight. This was a fight. This was punches being thrown, grown men getting hit in the face by one another, and it didn't look good for the league. It didn't look good for the Warriors. Didn't look good for Draymond Green, and it doesn't look good for the future of this Warriors team for now. We'll talk about what my prediction is here in the future, but this is something that is going to take a lot to overcome. I would be surprised if they don't, considering the championship that is on the line for this team. But They're gonna have to do some soul searching, and we're gonna have to see if Jordan Poole actually forgives Draymond Green for this.
Yeah, and I think the number one. So you bring up a great point, right? So Steve Kerr, head coach of the Golden State Warriors, mentions, "Hey, at one point in time, Michael Jordan and myself got into an altercation. One, Draymond Green is no Michael Jordan. We have to get that right there. And then Jordan Poole is no Steve Kerr either. I mean, it's apples and oranges to me. But I get the sentiment. I get what he's trying to say. And the weirdest part about it all, everyone's talking about you can't get past this, as I mentioned before." 8 days later. So October 7th is the altercation between Draymond Green and Jordan Poole. October 15th, 2 days ago, Jordan Poole receives a 4-year, $140 million extension. And then because the deadline, of course, was today for that 2019 draft class, a lot of guys didn't receive contract extensions. Jordan Poole, not on that short list of players. And in the same day, Andrew Wiggins goes ahead and gets handed over a 4-year, $109 million extension. And guess what? Draymond Green, no extension going into the new season. So if we're talking about you can't get past this, or it's me or him, it sort of sounds like the Golden State Warriors chose Jordan Poole, didn't they?
Oh, 100%. And I don't think that's the wrong move there. Draymond Green, world champion, 4-time champ. You're not going to take those rings away from him. You're not going to take away the amazing defense he's played in, countless playoff series, countless regular seasons, part of the greatest record of all time in that 73-9 season that the Warriors had. But he's older. He's looking on the outside, thinking he's going to get, the contract extension. And while his play in the playoffs last year was great, and then he really showed out in that last game of the NBA Finals, knocking down a couple of threes, playing great defense, passing the ball when needed. He's older, and we've seen time and time again, these teams are the Warriors are like something like $400 million in the luxury tax at the moment. Not only is that like an incredible number, I don't believe it's ever been that high in NBA history. That's a decision that the owners have to make. Like, one of these guys, whether it be, they're paying 4 dudes now. They're paying Steph Curry, they're paying Klay Thompson, they're paying Jordan Poole, they're paying Andrew Wiggins. Draymond Green is not going to get the money he wants. So that begs us the question, do we see a Warriors trade for Draymond Green sometime this season? Do we see him maybe on the Pistons? Do we see him maybe on Devin's Los Angeles Lakers? Mm-hmm. Is he join the Mavericks? These are just some teams that we've heard some rumors about, but I'd be interested to see, now that we've got Wiggins and Jordan Poole with this contract, Devin, do you see Draymond on this team next year? Or this year, sorry.
This year, I think this year, when we're talking about, and we'll talk about this in a little bit with the Golden State Warriors NBA championship aspirations, I think if you get rid of Draymond, you're getting rid of a significant chance of winning the NBA Finals. Draymond doesn't stuff the box score, but he's a defensive presence. He's a leader on that team. He's a veteran. Like you said, he is a little bit older, but with age comes value as well, as especially in the NBA. He's a mentor to some of these younger guys. I don't think you can just plug in Jonathan Kuminga or James Wiseman and expect the same role to get filled. So for me, I don't think this year they're going to move on from Draymond. As much as I would love to have him on the Lakers, as much as I would love to see him in a different uniform, I don't think it's realistic. I don't think it's hard to put a pinpoint that, like, what do you trade for Draymond Green? What do you trade for a guy that's won so many championships but doesn't really have the stats to back it up to sort of eye pop and say, wow, this guy is going to change the scoreboard for us in future games. He's going to carry us in the playoffs. Because that's really not the case. Draymond doesn't do that. He's a 4th option really offensively in a starting 5. So for me, I don't think this year they're going to move on from him. But it sounded like, I think the number was up to $438 million for the payroll of the Golden State Warriors, with these 2 new extensions going out to both Poole and Wiggins. So unless they're just going to absolutely break the luxury tax and break the current system of the NBA, I don't think there's a chance that the Golden State Warriors are going to shell out enough money for Draymond Green in the offseason. I just don't think it's possible. I think there's going to be other teams, smaller market teams, that are going to shell out much more money. And I think Draymond, who's already won enough championships to solidify himself as potentially a Hall of Fame talent, I think we can both agree on.
Yeah, no, I'm going Hall of Fame first ballot for Draymond Green.
Yeah, I would say just about the same. And I think at this point, when you're at this point in your career, it might just be about the money. It might just be about taking the face of some sort of franchise, going back home to Detroit. We both know he went to Michigan State, so that would be a great place for him. I know I mentioned that during season 1 of Deep from 3, so that would be sort of my take. Is he's going to remain on the Golden State Warriors, but after this season, it's anybody's game for a bidding war.
And he has in the past mentioned in interviews he'd always wanted to play for the Pistons growing up around there.
Right.
And I believe it was on The Shop, which is LeBron James' show. They asked him, what team would you see yourself if you weren't on the Warriors? And he was like, I'd like to join the Pistons. And, as much as we make fun of the Pistons, there will be a topic of conversation later on in this podcast. We do have some things to say about the Pistons, but building a good young core there, maybe possibly Draymond Green coming to that team. Not trying to rhyme accidentally, but like that would be a dream. I mean, honestly, for that team to have a veteran leadership like that in Draymond, surround Jaden Ivey, Cade Cunningham, Isaiah Stewart with a talent like that. Even if he's not putting up the stats, we've seen time and time again, whether it's the Lakers accusation of used to be savior of the Timberwolves, Patrick Beverley. These veteran players can add to teams that you wouldn't think to get them over the hump. Jay Crowder on the Grizzlies a couple of years ago. Now, I know that's not like an amazing example, but that guy going to that team showed them a little bit like, all right, this is how you play winning basketball. And sometimes that's what it takes to get over the hump for an NBA franchise. You get one of those veteran players like Draymond Green on the Pistons, Cade Cunningham all of a sudden has an amazing season. We're looking at it like, why don't we do this more often? That 15th man on the roster instead of, take the Heat, for example, Udonis Haslem. He doesn't get any playing time, but you hear all about him in the locker room. Draymond Green is so integral to a championship, and if the Warriors lose him, it's going to be weird to see him in another jersey, to be honest. I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And this doesn't take away from the fact that the Golden State Warriors are actually in a really promising place. Even if they were to lose Draymond after the season, I thought both the Poole and the Wiggins contracts were pretty much well-deserved for guys at their current status in the NBA. Jordan Poole, career-high marks last season, 18.5 points per game, 4 assists per game, 3.4. Like I said before, all career-high marks. And then he was also the second player on the Golden State Warriors in Golden State Warriors history to be 22 years old or younger and to have 10 different 30-point games in a single season. Do you want to know who the first one was?
Tell me.
The first one was Monta Ellis in the 2007-2008 season. That's a throwback name right there.
Wow.
That is a throwback.
2K God, Monta Ellis.
2K God.
I remember those teams with when the Dallas Mavericks had the number 1 seed or number 1.
Right.
I wasn't sure if they were the first seed or the best offense, but that same year they traded Rajon Rondo and they had Monta Ellis, Dirk Nowitzki. Those are fun teams.
Yeah.
Monta Ellis wasn't a bad. I always remember the Warriors having that trouble of who do we keep, Steph Curry or Monta Ellis? And now that sounds ridiculous to say, just as ridiculous as the Chris Paul, Darren Williams debates back in the 2000s. Who's a better point guard, Chris Paul or Darren Williams? It's so silly to think about now.
Yeah, and another tidbit on Jordan Poole, too. He actually led the league in free throw percentage last season. It wasn't Steph Curry. It wasn't Trae Young. It was Jordan Poole with a 92.5% accuracy from the free throw line. And then you're talking about Andrew Wiggins. What we don't really mention, because I mentioned before, 4 years, $109 million, and you think to yourself, oh, that's not, super outrageous. But he's also got a player option for a 5th year that would bring his contract total up to $143 million. And if you think about Andrew Wiggins 5 years from now, it might turn out to a situation where he's like, I don't know if I can, exceed this max value of mine in that 5th season, because he's going to be a little bit older by that time, 5 years down the road. So 5th year, $143 million total. And remember, way back in the day, we were doing our all-star draft, and nobody wanted Andrew Wiggins, the guy who was elected to his first all-star game. He ended up averaging 17.2 points and 3-point rebounds per game while shooting at a career-high 39.3% from three-point range. I mean, he also had a great season. Like I said, I thought both of these guys well-deserved contract extensions.
No, 100%. I know we clown on Andrew Wiggins for the All-Star selection last year, but he basically made us all eat our words in the playoffs when he was the Warriors' literal second-best player in the finals. I mean, Klay Thompson gets a lot of respect, and so does Draymond Green, but Wiggins locked down Jason Tatum that entire series. He played amazing defense as well as scored off the dribble, made clutch shots when he needed to create his own shot. It was there. I mean, Andrew Wiggins is a hell of a basketball player, and there's no doubt in my mind he did deserve this contract extension. I just think you make a great point at the end there. That 5th year comes in, he's getting paid that 30-something million a year. Not that he doesn't deserve it right now, but where does a aged Andrew Wiggins, what does he look like in this league? Is he even on the Warriors at the end of this contract? How long do they keep this? We have Klay Thompson, we have Steph Curry, we have now Draymond Green, pending on his future with the team. But these next two guys, when do they call it quits? When do they hang those laces up? And how long after is Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins the next future of the Golden State Warriors? And is that a good thing? Is Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody come out of this with James Wiseman and absolutely blow our expectations out of the water and this dynasty continues? Or do we look back in 5 years and see, wow, these are some bloated contracts for a team that we thought was going to repeat for the championship, but is now done? Where are we at? We will never know. But I guess we will in 5 years. I'll see you back here, buddy. We'll still be doing this podcast. Don't worry. 5 years down the road, I'll have a big, white beard to show that I've aged.
There you go. Before we can get 5 years down the road, let's settle in with the 2022 to 23 NBA preview. We've got a bunch of different categories, as I mentioned before, and it's also clipped over at our Facebook page right now. You can check us out at theathleteshub.org. And, this article is also posted on Twitter. It's posted on Facebook. Anywhere you can find it, it's most likely there. Our categories: Rookie of the Year predictions, Defensive Player of the Year, NBA MVP, a surprise team in the East, the West, who our NBA champions are, and one bold prediction. And let's just start off with the rookie predictions, because both yourself and Isaiah, we did these completely blind. Everyone did them individually. Yourself and Isaiah both chose the front runner, the top man, Paolo Banchero from the Orlando Magic, to be the front runner and to just secure the Rookie of the Year award. Talk to me about what you like from Banchero and why he's your favorite going into this year.
I mean, offense is really the best thing I could say. He's got the best footwork. He's got the best footwork in this class. He's got elite one-on-one scoring ability. He finishes over both shoulders. He can pass really, really well, and it's really one of the things that made Duke's success in the in March Madness so evident, was that Paolo Banchero figured out that he is the number one scoring option on his team, and he probably will be until the day he retires in the NBA. And right now, he is also the best offensive player on the Orlando Magic, and he can pass really well. Not saying he's going to average something like 9 assists a game, but the ability to score one-on-one on a team like Orlando, who lacks a lot of offensive creativity, will open up not only things for himself, but it will open up things for his teammates. Orlando was 29th overall in points per game last year, and drafting not only the best scorer in this class, but possibly the best one-on-one isolation guy at that size we've seen since like a Jason Tatum. Paolo Banchero is like an easy Rookie of the Year candidate for me, my favorite, based on that alone. We vote on these awards because of what? Scoring. We based on these because of not defense, but offense. And it's hard to look at a team that didn't average anywhere over 20 points per game as a single player and not pick the guy who's expected to probably average 20 points per game as a rookie. I think Paolo Banchero is the hands down number one favorite. Vegas agrees. Isaiah agrees, but I know you do not agree. Who have you selected as your Rookie of the Year favorite here?
For those who have not checked out our article, make sure you're checking us out, like I said, at theathleteshub.org, because we have a lot of differing opinions, and I love just going back and forth. I love bringing these onto this show. I went with a little bit of an unorthodox pick with Jabari Smith of the Houston Rockets, and here's why. First off, I had to stay away from Banchero because it's just too easy, Gary. It's just it's right there in front of me. It's the low-hanging fruit. But the last time that the top selection of the NBA draft was selected as the Rookie of the Year, if you're excluding Ben Simmons' very unorthodox year where he was hurt and then he played the next year, won Rookie of the Year, was a couple of years before that where it was Karl Anthony Towns in the 2015 to 16 season. So it's been a number of years since the top guy selected in the draft has gone on to win that Rookie of the Year award. So I had to go a little bit outside of the box. I'm looking at this class and I don't see a Karl Anthony Towns type prospect. I don't see anybody that can emerge at the top 5 of their position, even Banchero. So I'm looking at this Jabari Smith, who averaged 16.9 points. He averaged 7.4 rebounds per game. He's going to get the work done on both sides. And like you said, we're talking about offense. If we're talking about the leading scorer from the Houston Rockets from last season, it was none other than Christian Wood, who departed for the Dallas Mavericks, and he's going to be competing with JaVale McGee for the starting role at the number 5 position. So now we're talking about a huge void with the Houston Rockets. So you can check out my segment and my more in-depth take over at the athleteshub.org. But I love Jabari Smith because I think there's a huge void of offense and defense when it comes to the Houston Rockets. And it's not going to be Jalen Green. It's not going to be anything like that when it comes to the Houston Rockets. So I think Jabari Smith is going to have the opportunity to play a very big role in his first season with the team.
I do agree that, that hole that Christian Wood, left, not saying that he was over here putting up all-star numbers. He really wanted to be, but, he had a good amount of the scoring load. He had a good amount of the touches on offense, and he really saw himself as a first option, second option type of player. You take those touches away from him, all of a sudden, your 3rd overall pick, bam, he's got those opportunities. He's got those moments. I don't personally see him getting, I do think of Jalen Green as a bit of I'm not calling him a ball hog, but, I'm not calling him the greatest passer in the NBA either. And for a guy that wants to prove something after a lackluster start to his first year, maybe he does put up a little bit more elevated stats just off of volume alone. But I'm not hating on the pick. I just don't agree. I think it's easily Banchero. And yeah, you're right. It is low-hanging fruit. I'm going to take it. Sometimes you got to just take the easy bait because I'm not trying over here to, I could have said someone stupid like Nikola Jovic, but am I really going to do that? No, I'm okay.
Tempting. It
is tempting. Oh my God, the passes he's making. Oh, I might be getting a Jovic jersey, Devin.
And you didn't pick the low-hanging fruit when it came to the Defensive Player of the Year because, Isaiah actually did because Isaiah went with Giannis Antetokounmpo, who, he's always going to be in the contention for the award, right? And I think the actual low-hanging fruit would have been to go back to Rudy Gobert, who joined the Minnesota Timberwolves in that crazy trade this offseason. But none of the 3 of us chose Rudy Gobert, and only one of us chose Giannis. You went with the hometown pick and the homer pick of Bam Adebayo. So what did you like out of Bam Adebayo? What have you seen in the preseason, and why do you think he's going to elevate to that favorite for the Defensive Player of the Year?
So it's no surprise to anybody here that not only did Bam Adebayo kind of underperform in last year's playoffs offensively, he got injured last year, which really hurt his Defensive Player of the Year candidacy in last year, which went to Marcus Smart, as we all know, who I think deserved it in some regards. I'm not over here picking him as the greatest defender in basketball. I don't think even the GMs of the league in their GM survey, they didn't pick him. They picked him as the best perimeter defender, but not as the best defender. And I think the reason being is that defensive stats skew so much to big guys. But the other thing that Bam Adebayo does, besides defend the rim, is be one of the most switchable people in the NBA with an offense or with a defense that is so undersized. Bam Adebayo still manages to protect the rim at an elite level. He holds opponents to 32.9% shooting with 35.3% effective field goal percentage. You don't do that if you're not a stellar defender, not only at the rim, but on the perimeter as well. You can watch Miami Heat possessions where Bam Adebayo is guarding every single player on that possession. Yes, he does have Jimmy Butler, but we see just how much of the defensive load is put on Bam Adebayo. It's not only is he one of the most versatile defenders, like I've said before, but the Miami Heat know this. 25% of the Miami Heat's possessions end with Bam Adebayo defending the ball handling shooter, whether that be at the rim or whether that be on the perimeter. And with a game that is so focused on the perimeter, it is incredible to me that a center who, while being good at defending the rim at 6'9", with his length and his elite speed at that size, he's able to defend every position on the court And if he wasn't, maybe it's a hot take, if he wasn't injured last year, I think we're walking out of here with Bam Adebayo winning Defensive Player of the Year last season, not this year. I mean, I still think I'm picking him this year, but you don't lead a team to the fourth best offense in the league or fourth best defense in the league when you have without a player like Bam Adebayo.
Yeah, it's not a bad pick. It's not a bad pick whatsoever. I went with someone who so first off, Marcus Smart, for the year that he had, I wasn't upset that he came away with it. I actually remember saying that he was going to win the award when nobody else was even considering him. And then now, for some reason, he's plus 1,200 odds to repeat as the Defensive Player of the Year. Those odds seem extremely, extremely low for someone who I thought dominated defensively last year. I went with somebody that I felt like could have won Defensive Player of the Year. I thought he should have won Defensive Player of the Year. It's none other than the Phoenix Suns' Mikal Bridges. I thought he had a fantastic year. He secured a career-high 11.2 defensive shares and won a 193 out of a 100 possible and 98 possible points to being named to the NBA first team all defense. So he was pretty much a unanimous selection for first team all defense. He averaged 1.2 steals. He averaged about a half a block a game as a smaller guy in the NBA. So he's definitely getting in there. And he started all 82 games for the Suns. That goes without a doubt. You got to play, get on the court, make an impact defensively in order to be in the series. And according to NBA.com, he actually defended the most shots from both the paint and from the mid-range, and he was a lockdown defender the entire year. So I think with a repeat effort of this year, I know the Phoenix Suns may not be a top 2 or 3 defensive team, but if they can get into that top 5 defensive team, like you said with the Miami Heat, you got to be in that top 5 as a team defensively, and I think both Bam Adebayo and Mikal Bridges are both going to be in contention, but I love both of those picks, and I actually do like Isaiah's pick of Giannis Antetokounmpo. I think anytime that he is on the court, you have to consider him. I know going into this next category, he also has Giannis Antetokounmpo, but yeah, I absolutely love these defensive picks. I think both guys are probably going to finish in the top 5 for voting.
And Mikal Bridges last season was absolutely the best. I mean, other than Marcus Smart, which, for being real honest, Marcus Smart's ability as a defender mainly comes from his tenacity on the outside perimeter, but also his leadership when it comes to defense. You hear him on the court. Go watch a Boston Celtics game. You can hear Marcus Smart on the court on defense, calling out assignments, calling out switches, calling out plays. I mean, he's one step ahead of the offense on their own play calling. And Mikal Bridges is not only a great defender, you know, I'm trying to compare him with Marcus Smart, but Mikal Bridges is just the guy who's getting every single defensive perimeter possession on that Phoenix Suns. You know, Devin Booker's their main offensive option. Chris Paul, while being still a decent defender, is, you know, kind of fallen off at his age. DeAndre Ayton's got the paint, but who's out there guarding the LeBron Jameses? Who's out there guarding Damian Lillard? Who's out there guarding Steph Curry? It's Mikal Bridges. That is their Swiss Army knife when it comes to forwards and guards in the league. And the fact that we are looking at 2 players, Mikal Bridges and Bam Adebayo, who realistically, maybe Mikal is on the shorter end, but, you know, give him a decent enough matchup. And these are 2 guys that can guard 1 through 4, possibly 1 through 5, all throughout the NBA. Now, I'm not trusting him to guard Joel Embiid, but, you know, who am I trusting to guard Joel Embiid? Because even Bam gets put in the blender by these offensive dudes. So does Giannis. We've watched a couple of times where Joel Embiid yams it over Giannis. You can't stop some of these offensive guys, but Mikal Bridges and Bam Adebayo do the best job, in my opinion, from what we've said, of stopping some of the greater offensive wing guys in the NBA.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, Gary, because I'm looking at this next category over on my screen, and I go through and I edit these before I put them out, and I was shocked, jaw to the floor, when I saw your pick for MVP. With the offseason that this team has had, the chaos that is ensuing, aside from the Golden State Warriors, this team is right behind them when it comes to offseason drama with the Boston Celtics. You chose Jason Tatum as your NBA MVP pick. what in the world were you thinking when you decided to write that name down for this article?
I was thinking of how offense and defense matter when these awards are set. And I was also thinking about NBA narratives. And I was thinking about progression as a player. Because if we're talking about a guy who is not only the best offensive option on his team, but go watch those preseason games. Go watch. The numbers will agree with me. Jason Tatum is one of the most versatile defenders in the NBA. He guards guards, he guards wings. He even goes out in the paint to guard some centers here and there on an undersized guy. Not saying he's better than Marcus Smart on that end. He has a little bit more of the ability to just do on his size to guard these bigger guys. He is 6'11", and he does run really fast. Now, there are some, problems where you have last season. They did make it to the finals, but a lot of people would describe Tatum's finals appearance as a little lackluster. He had a ton of turnovers. He basically broke the NBA finals record for most turnovers in a series. But I digress, because what happens in the NBA when we look at our young superstars, we always want them to improve. And what better adversity to improve from a front office and organizational standpoint? When you're in the NBA and things hit the fan, what do you got to do? You got to fight through adversity. And I think Jason Tatum, after the finals loss and after this kerfuffle with the front office and Ime Udoka and the replacement of their coach, has a perfect case to average a high amount of points per game, take his team to the number 1 seed in the East, and cement himself as, I might have a bunch of crap going around me, but what am I going to do? I'm going to bring my team to the number 1 seed. I see Jason Tatum being a Kawhi Leonard type of season from him, where he's defending all over the court. He's scoring at will. I could see him putting up 30 points a game next season, easy, when it comes to what he might need to do to bring his team back to the promised land, back to the NBA finals. Not saying he gets that done, but in the regular season, who has more to prove than Jason Tatum? Thoughts?
I think you've gone crazy.
That's fair. I am a known Celtics hater. I have Tyler's hero in my thing, and I am here picking Jason Tatum to win MVP. I didn't want to do it. Like, it wasn't like a part of me that was like, oh, just to ruffle some feathers and just to get some of my friends mad at me, I'm going to pick. No, I fully believe that Jason Tatum should win MVP next season, just based off of progression alone. If he keeps scoring at the rate he did, if he adds a little bit more of an inside game, he had some trouble getting to the line and finishing at the rim during the playoffs. I see him working on his floater in the offseason. I see him doing all these drills with him and Jason Tatum, or with him and Jaylen Brown coming back. I think that Jason Tatum wins MVP next year. And honestly, his biggest competition, looking at this list, is the guy that you're selecting with your pick, which you're getting on me for being crazy and being, hyping up a team that has a bunch of crazy around it. You picked someone on the Brooklyn Nets.
You're right, I did.
How are you going to call me crazy?
So here's sort of what my thinking is. I get where you're coming from. There was 2 guys in the NBA that averaged over 30 points a game last season, and it was Joel Embiid and it was LeBron James. I don't think Jason Tatum is going to end up at that 30-point mark. I could see him inside the top 10, because somehow, even with almost 27 points a game, he ended up 11th in scoring in the league. So I do think we get a little bit of a jump from him. I think you're absolutely right. Kevin Durant. Write it down, put in your futures, make the bets now before the season starts tomorrow, because we went through a roller coaster in the offseason. We got through the trade request of Kevin Durant. Oh, wait, he came back around full circle and he was on the team. Kyrie Irving requested a trade potentially to the Los Angeles Lakers. He ends up staying. Ben Simmons shooting air balls in the offseason. He's going to be in the starting lineup. This team has nothing going for them. Absolutely nothing. Could be a disaster. Or Gary, it could be the greatest product in the Eastern Conference. You get Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Ben Simmons, and a supporting cast around him of misfits. Just give the ball to KD. Kevin Durant shot 51.8% from the field last season, 38.3% from beyond the arc, and he had no help. He was taking 20, 25, 30 shots a game because he had to. He had to carry the team. And I think he's going to have to play that same role this season because let's face it, I don't think Ben Simmons is going to play a full season. I don't think Kyrie Irving's going to play a full season, but Kevin Durant, I think he's going to play most of those 82 games, if not all 82. And I think the NBA voters are sitting there in their chairs and saying, man, I'm writing off the Brooklyn Nets already, but if they end up as a top 3 seed just somehow, some way, it's because Kevin Durant carried them to that top 3 seed. And I just think it might be crazy enough where Kevin Durant ends up as the favorite for this award because those stats are going to be astronomical. He could end up at the 28 to 30 points a game mark. It's going to take a whole lot of shots to get there. But if they end up as a top 3 seed in the East after the offseason that they went through with their actual roster, I think it's hard not to give them the award.
It's really strange. We'd have 2 teams that we've picked where it's like the pieces around them really matter when it comes to Kevin Durant winning MVP. He's plus 1,000 right now, so I don't think you're too far off. Jason Tatum is plus 1,200, so don't act like it's too crazy. 6th place, 6th in the MVP odds right now. Kevin Durant 4th, I believe, or 3rd. I can't read right now, but no, I don't think picking Kevin Durant specifically is odd. My point more stands is these Brooklyn Nets got swept in the series last year. Yes, they're adding Ben Simmons, but they're also adding Ben Simmons. So we have to come with the
stop.
We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if Ben Simmons
That's Ben Simmons.
It's Ben Simmons. That's my point, is that he's either a defensive player of the year candidate with an amazing offensive passing ability, or he's averaging 2 points in the 4th quarter in the playoffs, and he's a big goose egg in the stat line. I'm not saying that Kevin Durant isn't an amazing player, but we know when it comes to MVPs, unless you're having an incredible season like Jokic or Russell Westbrook, team success matters. And I'm not saying that the Nets are going to be a play-in team, but it wouldn't surprise me if, the trio of Kevin Durant, Ben Simmons, and Kyrie Irving miss a couple of games, and all of a sudden we're looking at them as like a 4th or 5th seed. Wouldn't surprise me. They're older dudes. Kevin Durant's in his 16th season, 17th season. This isn't going to be easy for him like it used to be. And I admire the pick. I think that it's a good idea, but I'm a little hesitant when it comes to Kevin Durant being the future of not the future of my team. I'm a little hesitant when it becomes how many games is he going to play at his age. Do they win when he's playing? Yes, I would go off on a limb and say they're a 55 win pace when he is actually playing, but that's where it matters to me. Jason Tatum on my side plays a lot of games. Yes, he's been injured in the past, but you always see him playing through injuries like that. Kevin Durant's a little bit older. Wouldn't be surprised if they sit him a little bit on those back-to-backs. On those, I don't think the NBA does 3 games in 4 nights anymore. They kind of got those out of the schedule, but I wouldn't be surprised if you see Kevin Durant at the big old 65, 70 games this season.
And there's a couple of guys that I'm writing off as well. Do you have I know you were talking about the odds before.
Yeah, I have them in front of me.
The last guy to win 3 MVPs in a row. So Jokic has won back-to-back. He's going for a 3rd. There's 3 players in NBA history. Do you know any of the 3 players that have won 3 MVPs in a row?
Larry Bird.
That's right. That's the last one.
Hold on. It's coming to me. Bill Russell.
That's right. Two for 2, and one more.
And Wilt.
That's right. All
boom.
3.
Look at me.
So Larry
NBA
Bird,
history
Will
nerd,
Chamberlain,
Gary.
Bill Russell, and the fact is right there in the article as well. So I'm writing off Jokic. It hasn't been done since the 80s. Not that I'm betting against Jokic because I think he's a fantastic player, and I think the Denver Nuggets are going to have a crazy good year, especially with the talent that's coming back, the talent that they're adding as well. I'm just not invested in 3 MVPs in a row. I think the voters get a little tired after a while of the same guy winning over and over again. So they'll probably look in a different direction. And correct me if I'm wrong, but Luka Doncic, I assume, is probably the favorite.
Yeah, he's the favorite with Embiid. So Luka's the favorite at plus 450. Joel Embiid at 500. Giannis at 550. Those are the top 3. And then you're followed by KD, Jokic, Tatum, Curry, Morant, Kawhi, LeBron, Zion. All right, I'm gonna stop there because that's starting to get ridiculous.
Yeah, and Luka Doncic, and I've said this a couple of weeks ago when we came back for season 2. I'm just not in on the Dallas Mavericks this year. I thought they got significantly worse in the offseason. I thought losing Jalen Brunson was a huge blow to them. Obviously, they're getting Christian Wood, but he's not even starting in this lineup. He's going to be playing behind JaVale McGee. And then all of a sudden, we're talking about, the pressure on Luka is going to become that much bigger, but the defensive schemes on Luka Doncic are going to be that much better because there's not a whole lot of surrounding talent on the Dallas Mavericks. So I'm out on Luka. I'm out on Nikola Jokic. I love the bet for KD. I'm okay with the bet on Jason Tatum.
There we go. We're coming around to it. I like that.
And obviously, I thought Isaiah's pick of Giannis was another good one. Anytime, that's the low-hanging fruit of anytime Giannis is on the floor playing all 82 games, he's going to be in that conversation. He's going to finish in the top 3 to 4 for voting. So I think, once again, all 3 of our picks, very, very possible for any of those guys to come out on top.
And if they do, and if Jason Tatum wins MVP, I'm going to clip and put it in our intro. You calling me an insane person for thinking JT is going to win. I will also say, when he speaks of voter fatigue, we do know about Michael Jordan in the 90s winning 2 MVPs, and then it goes over to Karl Malone, and then one of those years it goes to Charles Barkley. Not saying they didn't deserve it, but you look at 2 years ago when Jokic wins MVP, go look at those Giannis stats. Giannis just came off of 2 MVPs himself. He puts up similar numbers, and he kind of gets shoved to the side. Voter fatigue is real, and unless your name is, I can't even believe I got that right in the first try. Didn't even realize you had it in the article. But unless your name is Larry Bird, Wilt Chamberlain, or Bill Russell, not even LeBron, not Michael Jordan, this isn't an easy feat. And if Jokic is able to join those 3 names, good for him. But that's a weird list to look at when you see 3 guys of the level of Larry Bird, Bill Russell, and Wilt Chamberlain, all, I would say, top 10 players of all time, and then having Jokic on the end. Not to discredit him, but unless he does something like win a couple of championships, that's going to be a funny list to look at when we go here in the future.
Yeah, and we're sticking right in the Eastern Conference as we jump to one surprise team in the Eastern Conference. Yourself and Isaiah, like I said before, did this completely blind. No collaboration whatsoever. You both chose the Detroit Pistons. On behalf of yourself and Isaiah, why the Pistons? Why are we going with this team this year?
I really do think it's because everybody just expects the Pistons to be garbage. They expect them to be bad. We have, at least in my life, the best Pistons team I've seen since, the championship has been a Blake Griffin led team where he got hurt in the 8th in the last game of the season and then had to basically show up to play the Bucks for 4 games because they knew he was going to lose. We have the Josh Smith teams. I mean, this Pistons team for the last 15 years has been a pretty big laughingstock around the NBA. And now you're looking at a team with a little bit of depth and a little bit of young potential in Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey. Sadiq Bey is one of those guys that's going to jump off the page. So every now and then you're looking down and he's like, oh, he scored 38 tonight. I didn't even know he was playing tonight. The Pistons are on. Let me give him a watch. Jaden Ivey's a pretty athletic player. Cade Cunningham can pass the ball a little bit. Is that Bojan Bogdanovic? He got traded from the Jazz. I'm not saying this team is going to light up the league and get into the playoffs or, make a 4th or 5th seed run. We need to stop counting the Pistons out as some bottom feeder below the Jazz, below the Spurs, below the Hornets. This team can compete for at least the play-in series, and I wouldn't be surprised if at the end of the year we're looking down and we're like, man, that Pistons team, they're actually got some pretty good depth. They're actually pretty good. I'm not saying that Marvin Bagley is going to be some amazing off-the-bench player for them, but that's why you get Jalen Duran. That's why you get a Nerlens Noel. That's why you get Isaiah Stewart. That's why you have backup guys like Alec Burks, who, while he might not be like a world breaker, showed off a little bit in the playoffs a couple of years ago. These aren't just like a random NBA team that puts together a bunch of bad players. This isn't the Oklahoma City Thunder who are throwing some random dudes at the end of the year to try to tank for some more games. They have everything. They really have everything to show Cade Cunningham, hey, this is the team that we're looking to build around you specifically for the future. And if they get a couple of wins here and they make it to like a 40-win team, maybe 38, gets them in the playoffs, gets them in the play-in, I could see the Detroit Pistons surprising some folks here at the end of the year.
And it would take a huge jump, but it would be a huge accurate prediction if true. They finished with a 23-59 record last season. They were 30 games out of first place, 20 games out of the actual play-in tournament from the 10th seed. But as you mentioned before, a lot of young talent. They're actually only behind the Houston Rockets, OKC Thunder, Orlando Magic, and San Antonio Spurs when it comes to youngest teams in the NBA based on average age. So they're a top 5 team when it comes to the youngest teams in the NBA. I'm rocking with none other. I said this last time. I have to double down on my prediction. This is a team that did end up getting to the play-in tournament, a 43-39 record, but compared to the year prior, it was an absolute disappointment. The Atlanta Hawks did what NBA teams should be doing in the offseason. They've got one star player on their team, Trae Young. They see Trae Young cannot do it by himself. They go out and acquire another superstar player, DeJounte Murray. This is the problem with the Portland Trailblazers for year in and year out. They see Damian Lillard's the only star, and they do nothing whatsoever to surround him with talent and give him a chance at contending in their respective conference. I think that we're in for a huge surprise with the Atlanta Hawks. John Collins is coming off of a horrible postseason last season, so he's going to be looking for a comeback as well. And I'm telling you, Gary, I predicted this about the Chicago Bulls. They were the most exciting team, we could argue, in the regular season. They did fizzle out because of injuries over time. I don't know really what to point fingers at, but I think this year's Chicago Bulls, if that makes sense, are the Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah, you get like a little scrappy team that no one kind of thinks is going to be great. Like, I mean, people I've seen put the Atlanta Hawks at least in the top 8 in the East. That East is loaded, but you're right. I mean, you had it dead on the nails with that Chicago Bulls prediction last season. We almost turned this into a complete Chicago Bulls podcast, if we're being honest.
Right.
We were on the Lonzo Ball as a superstar hype train. I remember in my preseason predictions, I said Ayo Dosunmu is going to be great. I didn't expect DeMar DeRozan to have literally an MVP at one point. We almost gave him the MVP over there in like January, an MVP type season from DeMar DeRozan. I wrote an article about his mid-range ability.
That's right.
I mean, the Chicago Bulls were fantastic last season. Of course, those injuries at the end of the year kind of derailed him. And Lonzo Ball over here with his can't even walk up the stairs, legs and his ankles and his knees are hurting. Feel really bad for him. Don't see the Bulls being as explosive this year. That seed that might be that they had last season might be filled by your Atlanta Hawks, and I'm going to call them your Atlanta Hawks now.
That's right.
Look at you predicting back-to-back years these young teams coming around. I mean, the Bulls were a little bit older, but like, come on, this Hawks team. You add one of the best defensive perimeter players in the league next to your guard, who, whoa, what can he not do? Defend. That might unlock a couple of things for you on the basketball court. I think this is a great prediction for a surprise team. Does it hurt to see John Collins still in Atlanta when he probably could be hitting 20 points a game somewhere else? Yeah, but like at the same time, I'll set my Heat fandom aside, wishing for another 4. I think the Atlanta Hawks, I think that was a great pick for you, dude.
And we're jumping right over to the Western Conference, where all 3 of us didn't necessarily agree on our surprise team, but I loved yours. And I got to say, when Isaiah comes on for the next show, me and him are going to go into a back and forth because he chose, believe it or not, the Dallas Mavericks as his surprise team in the West. So I need an explanation from him. I need a full depth back and forth argument, 15 minutes minimum of us just bickering back and forth about Luka Doncic and the rest of his supporting cast.
It's going to be, I'll be honest with you, it's just going to be how much do you love Christian Wood show. It's really what it's got to be, because I love Luka Doncic as much as the next guy, but his supporting cast is what's lacking him. Not disbelieving in his talent. This man is still going to put up, 28, 9 and 8. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with the pick of Luka Doncic possibly winning MVP. I think it's a little far-fetched given team record, but like, it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
it's a supporting cast that is really the question over with them. Christian Wood, Spencer Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith. These are guys that are good role players. Christian Wood, we'll see. But, we got to think about it this long term. We got to think about this realistically. Are the Dallas Mavericks – I'm in this debate too now, man. I need to see, are the Dallas Mavericks actually going to be good with Luka Doncic losing, possibly? Is he the best player? Is Jalen Brunson the best player that Luka Doncic has ever played with when it comes to actual talent on the basketball court when he was present? Of course, he played with Dirk in his last year, but Dirk wasn't Dirk then.
Right.
Is Jalen Brunson Luka Doncic's best teamate? And that's bad. That's not good. But so you've got over here with this pick, you've selected totally not a homer pick for your surprise Western Conference team. Talk to me about who you picked. I'm excited to hear you. Hold on, I gotta get it ready.
Yeah,
gotta get it ready here.
Get it ready.
I'll get it ready. Bam, go for it, my friend.
Hold on, because we're not quite there. Because can you see my name yet, or did it get? Number one, yes. Lakers fan is back. The Los Angeles Lakers are back. We are going back to the playoffs this year. I don't care that Russell Westbrook isn't in the team huddles. I don't care that the media is trying to get the Los Angeles Lakers to completely turn on one another. Patrick Beverley is a dog. The Los Angeles Lakers have both Anthony Davis and LeBron James ready to go tomorrow night against the Golden State Warriors. And I'll tell you what, we may be on the road, but it's not a far travel, Gary. The Los Angeles Lakers crowd is going to be there. They're going to be loud. And I absolutely loved everything that the Los Angeles Lakers did in this upcoming offseason, or this past offseason. LeBron James signs the extension. The Lakers add Kendrick Nunn, Lonnie Walker, Patrick Beverley, Damian Jones, so many role players. And LeBron James, aside from that big three that he's played with, he has always succeeded when just playing around role players. He dishes the ball and he makes everyone around him so much better. And the Los Angeles Lakers, even if they don't succeed this year in returning to the NBA Finals, they have the opportunity to sign a max player in the upcoming offseason. Guess what? Kyrie Irving, free agent after this year. Kyrie Irving, future Los Angeles Laker. Yes, please. So the Lakers, I think, are returning to the playoffs as a top 5 seed in the Western Conference this season. I have a big year for LeBron James planned. I have a big year for Anthony Davis, not Anthony day-to-day Davis, Anthony Defensive Player of the Year candidate Davis. I'm all in, Gary. I am all in on the LA Lakers. When the Lakers have both LeBron James and Anthony Davis on the court, they have a record of 93-41. They win almost 70% of their games when both of those guys on the court. Put me on for the Los Angeles Lakers. Just keep my guys healthy. LeBron's getting older. Davis is getting a little bit more fragile, but I'm not worried. Russell Westbrook is going to have a year for as long as he's on the Lakers. I don't care if he's coming off the bench. It is Russell Westbrook time, not Russell Westbrook. Get that out of here. It's Russell Westbrook time, and I'm ready to go. I'm telling you, I couldn't be more amped for the Los Angeles Lakers tomorrow night. Win or lose, I just want to see some positive games from the Lakers. String it on early. I'm ready. I'm ready. Top 5 seed, lock it in, put your future in. It's happening right now.
Well, I had to let you go off because at some point this Lakers team is going to show you correct. Because last year, I remember we both predicted them to make the Western Conference Finals. I remember we both predicted them to at least play for some sort of playoff contention. Yeah. And then there they were at the end of the year, not even making the play-in tournament. So not only am I interested to see how this Lakers team does this season, I am interested in your overall mental health throughout your Russell Westbrook experience and your Anthony Davis experience. I am rooting for the Lakers for you and you alone, my guy. I'm rooting for them for the entertainment value because I would love to see. The NBA is just a better league when the Los Angeles Lakers are in the playoffs. They're a better team. It's a better league when LeBron James is playing in playoff games. The ratings get higher. The drama is more.
Amen.
Is he going to win his 5th championship? Is he going to break Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's scoring record? Is he going to surpass Michael Jordan in people's eyes? These are things that we get to talk about until he retires. And when the Lakers make the playoffs, these are things that drive NBA storylines. These are things that drive NBA discourse and media, and they're things that get us more views. Please, for the love of our own podcast, the Lakers, please make the playoffs. We will be doing podcast specials about your wins if you do, because I'm ready to see LeBron James show everybody that he isn't done. As a guy who rooted for him his entire career growing up, it hurt me to see him win Cleveland when he left Miami, but I knew that LeBron James deserved this, because not only has he fought through a ton of crap teams that the Cleveland Cavaliers have given him, he has now had to deal with probably one of the most polarizing superstars in NBA history in Russell Westbrook, and one of the most injury-riddled stars in NBA right now in Anthony Davis. And if they can finally put it together, my God, will it be gorgeous. And I am just so excited to see you happy throughout this NBA season. When I'm going to back you on this, when they get to the 5th seed and when they make the NBA playoffs and possibly Western Conference Finals against the team that I will be picking.
Oh, goodness.
The New Orleans Pelicans, my friends, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, goblins and ghouls. We will be talking about the New Orleans Pelicans here right now, because they are my surprise team in the Western Conference. They've got CJ McCollum, who not by himself launched the Pelicans into a top 10 offensive team in the backcourt. They were already great in the fast break, but when you add a CJ McCollum shot creation in that backcourt, all of a sudden you get one of the top 10 half-court offenses in the league. Then they got Herb Jones over here, defensive mastermind, and until 2K puts his rating up, I will be on a petition streak, texting Ronnie 2K like Klay Thompson. Oh my, he's a 79 perimeter defense in 2K. I just need to tell you that. Herb Jones, put some respect on this man's name. And another person we need to put respect on, Zion Williamson. I've drafted him in my fantasy league, and I am hinging all of my success on him and him alone, just based on the fact that he had 27, 6 and 6. That was Brandon Ingram against the Phoenix Suns in the playoffs last year. Also, Zion put up 27 a game when he was healthy. If this Pelicans team with Jonas Valanciunas, Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, Herb Jones, CJ McCollum, Jose Alvarado coming off the bench, if they can put it all together, I predicted it last year when they lost in the playoffs to the Phoenix Suns. This Pelicans team can make the Western Conference Finals against your Los Angeles Lakers if it pans out for you and I correctly.
Well, it's not going to be possible, right? Because if we jump over to our NBA Finals winner predictions, you've got a little bit of a different pick.
Hey! I might have my team coming out now, but I was trying to hype you up, my man.
Listen,
I didn't want to leave you over here hanging on the island.
I am all for it, but as we talked about before, the Golden State Warriors underwent one of the craziest off seasons that I've probably seen in my lifetime, especially with that new age of media coming out, videos just spilling all over the place, new contracts handed out. You just don't know what the future is going to hold for them. Not only did you have the audacity to call Steph Curry a cemented top 10 player of all time, which you knew was going to get on my nerves.
Book it.
But you called them the favorites, not only to represent the West, but the favorites to win it all and go back-to-back. Klay Thompson, apparently, in your segment, is back to his old self. We're talking about Kuminga. We're talking about Moody and Wiseman being the future of the big man position. Jordan Poole having a jump-through year. So, I don't know. Go ahead and try to convince me that the Golden State Warriors are anywhere close to the NBA Finals favorites this year in comparison to last year.
Listen, the haters love to hate, and who hates people? Who is hated more than the Golden State Warriors these last 7 years? Since that 2015 title run where they went and they beat the injury-riddled Cleveland Cavaliers, then they lose in 2016. They get Kevin Durant for 3 seasons. No one has hated people more than the Golden State Warriors. But what am I going to say against Steph Curry right now? Coming off of his 4th title, a lot of people, including me, including Isaiah, and I know you're a big hater and you don't want to say it, but Steph Curry is a top 10 NBA player of all time, he's the second greatest point guard in NBA history behind Magic Johnson. That isn't even debatable for me
I'll agree
anymore.
with that.
Okay. At least I'll get you there. He's the second best player or second best point guard of all time in the NBA. Klay Thompson, not saying he's back to his complete old self, but at least on the defensive end, he's still there. And he can always hit down an open shot when you want him to. And I'm looking through this article that we wrote. I didn't even mention Andrew Wiggins. Wiggins, who got a new contract. Wiggins, who was the second best player on their team in the playoffs last season. Listen, I'm not saying that I understand that this is a long shot. I understand that the adversity that they faced over these past couple of days and weeks have been hard and it has been challenging. But what did we mention at the beginning of the show? Steve Kerr gotten punched in the face by Michael Jordan. If there's anybody who knows how to get through this from a team perspective, it is Steve Kerr. I am on the Warriors bandwagon to repeat, to get Steph Curry that 5th ring, and to finally get you, sir, Mr. Devin Withers, to say on this podcast that Steph Curry is a top 10 NBA player of all time. You will, mark my words, if we do this podcast long enough, and I expect to be recording this until I die, you will say Steph Curry is a top 10 NBA player of all time. Book it, mark it, write it down.
Those words won't even be in my last dying breath because we went through this already, but there's just too many. There's nobody replace. The only player that we're talking about replacing Steph Curry with on that top 10 is Wilt Chamberlain, and I just don't think there's enough. I mean, if we're talking about are the stats really real? Did Wilt Chamberlain really put up over 100 points in a game? Did he really average, 500 rebounds in a season? I don't really know the stats behind that. I wasn't alive for that time, but to just completely write off some of the NBA legends and put Steph Curry on there. Steph Curry, who, I don't know, when he was on a team by himself, just couldn't win games. I've seen LeBron James do it. I've seen other people in the top 10 do it before. Kobe did it. I think if Steph Curry was on that Kobe Bryant team that won in 2012, I don't think they're even making the playoffs with Steph Curry at the helm. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just talking facts here.
You're talking facts here? If facts started with an O and end with Pinion, then probably. I mean, I understand what your problem is. Of course, there's the defensive liability of it all. There's the, how much can you win with a small guard in the NBA when you don't have a good supporting cast around him? But my guy, I'm sorry, but it's Steph Curry, and I'm riding him till I die. I mean, you gotta, at this point, he's the greatest shooter of all time. He's playing in an era that he completely created himself with this 3-point volume and shot creating. He's won 4 titles. On 2 of those teams, he was at least the best player on the team. And yeah, of course, you're going to look at finals MVPs. That Andre Iguodala one, I mean, I love Iggy. I'm excited for him in his last season. I know he's retiring, but let's be honest, that was Steph Curry's team. That was Steph Curry's finals MVP. I mean, he should really have 2 finals MVPs, 4 championships. The only unanimous MVP in NBA history. I've got to say that Steph Curry is a top 10 player of all time, and I'm picking the Golden State Warriors to win the championship this year. I don't even care. I don't care if a big brawl starts out on the court in another practice, and we're seeing Jake Paul and Logan Paul come out there for some courtside, ringside. I know they're going off on Twitter trying to get every Draymond Green and Jordan Poole in the ring. I was toying with doing a little bit here on the podcast, but I'm going to set it aside. We're running high on time, but I'm picking the Golden State Warriors.
And listen, if the Golden State Warriors are going to the NBA Finals, I hope they see the team that I picked. I'm finally riding the Philadelphia 76ers as my Eastern Conference pick, as my NBA Finals pick. I think it's long overdue. I know. James Harden isn't a postseason guy. James Harden isn't the guy he used to be, but I think they had the best offseason out of any team in the NBA. They added PJ Tucker, Montrezl Harrell, Daniel House Jr. They addressed all of their immediate needs and got the depth that they needed. The teams that win the NBA Finals have depth. They have guys that can play behind the starters and guys that can step up when you least expect it. And the notion that James Harden just can't get the job done, he's in his age 33 season, so I'll admit it, he needs to be a little bit less passive when he comes into the postseason. But I think when you got Tyrese Maxey, who jumped from 8 points a game last season or 2 seasons ago to 17.5 points per game last season, I think that's a huge jump, and it's a sign that he could be the third player of that big three. I love it. PJ Tucker's shoe guy. I absolutely love it. But I love the bet on the 76ers. I think they've got a chance in the Eastern Conference where the Celtics are sort of in a disarray. The Nets are in a disarray. So really the only teams that are stable coming into opening night are going to end up being the 76ers, the Heat, the Bucks, and a few others. So that basically gives them a 1-3 to 1-5 chance at making the NBA Finals. And then all you got to do is just hope that you see the right team in the NBA Finals. And I think if it's the Golden State Warriors, oh man, I love that Joel Embiid on Draymond Green matchup. I love that down low. So we'll see what happens with all of that.
There are a lot of people that are saying that, that Philadelphia 76ers team is completely primed to make a run. And I don't disagree with you whatsoever. I have them possibly going into that Western Conference Finals. I think I picked the Bucks as the Western Conference Finals team that they would go against when I was doing it in my head, and we talked about it the week before. But that Philadelphia 76ers team, if Tyrese Maxey can step it up, I mean, he had an amazing season last year. If James Harden can do exactly what he did, not saying he's Houston James Harden, he's kind of a lost of a step. He's kind of lost the step when it comes to his driving ability. He's still an amazing playmaker. He's still an incredible decision maker with the ball. And then you also have probably the best two-way player at the center position in the NBA when it comes to Joel Embiid. I mean, this team is primed. If not now, never. This is Joel Embiid's chance in his prime to win an NBA championship. And he's got a good supporting cast to do it. He's got a good coach. I mean, there's a lot of, disagreements on whether Doc Rivers is the right coach for this team. To talk about somebody, and we could put this on the hot take, talk about Doc Rivers, somebody who's probably done the least with the most talent of any NBA coach in the last 10 years. I'm sorry, but those Clippers teams, so many of them failed. I mean, after that 2008 Celtics run, what has Doc Rivers really done to cement his legacy other than flame out of the playoffs a little bit earlier than people would have liked? So this is a year for him to kind of come back and say, no, I am a good coach. No, I am deserving of the, I think a lot of the discourse around Doc Rivers, a lot of it has been, is he a top 10 coach in the NBA? I think that's a little silly. Doc Rivers is a good coach. It's just he seems to come up short in the playoffs a lot. But yeah, the 76ers, this is a team. And I would be remiss to point out that I wasn't wearing a Phillies hat and a shirt from the Philadelphia Museum of Art. Didn't plan on this, but I do live in Atlanta, and the Phillies did just beat the Braves, and I might have worn this hat in public and gotten some people upset.
Of course.
So I have to say I'm down with this Philadelphia 76ers pick. Say that 10 times fast.
Yeah, and as you said before, we definitely are running a little bit high on time, but it's the day before the NBA season starts, so let's just quickly run through. We've got bold predictions, and then I want our opening night predictions as well. So you talked a little bit about the Charlotte Hornets, who have gone through, I don't know, probably the top 3 craziest off seasons as well. If you want to throw them in with the Nets and throw them in with the Celtics based on what happened to Bridges, but sort of talk about your expectations, your bold prediction coming in for the season for the Hornets.
So, I mean, it really just comes down to the fact that I don't find this team very good at all. And when I wrote this down, I thought it was a lot more of a bold take than it actually has been. I've been doing a lot of reading, doing a lot of talking about NBA over the past couple of weeks, and it is pretty much seen to me that the Charlotte Hornets around the league are considered one of the more, disappointing teams, of course, in the offseason. You have Miles Bridges getting arrested. You have, I know Montrezl Harrell just got signed to the 76ers, but he was on the team when he was arrested. James Bouknight was just booked again for a DUI charge. I mean, this team is going off the rails quickly. Gordon Hayward, we haven't seen a healthy him like in what feels like years. LaMelo Ball is, I believe, missing a couple of games at the start of the season due to an injury. Yeah. And at this point, my bold prediction that the Charlotte Hornets wind up winning the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes next year, and we see them as the worst team in the NBA. If LaMelo Ball, if they're smart, they'll see a couple of probably 20, 30 games into the season. They don't have it, and they should probably rest him a little bit more. I think they have the worst starting front court in the NBA. PJ Washington and Mason Plumlee. I'm sorry, but I don't see them doing anything but maybe 22, 23 wins for this season. They're not going to be good. I will put my money on that.
Yeah, and I don't disagree. I'm not going as far with my bold take, but I have the Memphis Grizzlies, who put together a Cinderella type. If you're talking about NBA playoffs and just talking about Cinderellas, like you're talking about March Madness in college basketball, the Memphis Grizzlies were the Cinderella team of the Western Conference, and they made some noise in the Western Conference playoffs. Unfortunately, they lost Kyle Anderson, they lost Anthony Melton, and they didn't do really anything to surround Ja Morant. What did I say earlier? Teams like the Atlanta Hawks are going to have a very good year because they decided to go get and be proactive and go get DeJounte Murray, whereas the Portland Trailblazers are going to be stuck in the mud of the Western Conference, and so are the Memphis Grizzlies. They lost Kyle Anderson, they lost DeAnthony Melton. They didn't do anything to improve. The Clippers are going to be better this season. The Lakers are going to be better this season. The Trailblazers have Damian Lillard, which gives them a chance to be in the playoffs, at least as a play-in team. And the Sacramento Kings played with a lot of urgency last season once they got Domantas Sabonis. They're going to be better this season with a full season of Sabonis. So I think all those teams are going to be better, which makes the case of whether the Grizzlies are going to be in the play-in tournament. I think the Grizzlies are going to be stuck having to play for their lives. I don't think they necessarily miss the playoffs, but I see them as that 9 seed, that 10 seed, fighting and scraping, much like the Lakers had to do and just didn't get to do last season. I think that is going to be the new Memphis Grizzlies of this season. Ja Morant will have a great statistical season, but it's because he's playing in a starting 5 that includes the likes of himself, Desmond Bane, Dillon Brooks, Santi Almada, and Steven Adams. I can't find a single guy that's putting up more than 17, 18 points per game outside of Morant. He's going to take so many shots. He's going to have such a good year. Statistically, he'll be an all-star, but there will be no team success whatsoever. I don't even see them coming out of the play-in tournament.
So you're completely down on this Memphis Grizzlies team. I'm actually pretty shocked about that. Ja Morant, if anything, is one of the most electrifying players in the league. He had most improved player last year. He was like absolutely fantastic in the playoffs when it mattered. Yeah, he had a little bit of a shooting rut in that first series, but when the points needed to come, they were there. Ja Morant, if anyone, is looking to take a jump this year, and you're a bit down on him. I'm not saying I disagree with the thoughts about the bench. I just might be a little bit higher on the young core there. I know Dillon Brooks is looking for a contract extension. I believe he was supposed to sign that today, and if he didn't, he is now an unrestricted free agent. So this Memphis Grizzlies team, you might be right. They might be on the down track. Just, that jump, that Cinderella season that, what we saw from the Chicago Bulls last season might happen. It happened in the Western Conference, and it might not happen again for them. So that's an interesting pick. I'm excited to see what they might have this year, because it's possible.
Yeah, and listen, I'm looking at the standings from last season. So obviously the Jazz are going to absolutely plummet after trading away Gobert, trading away Donovan Mitchell. So that spot's going to open up at the 5 seed. But the Suns are going to make the playoffs. The Warriors, are the Mavericks going to make it? Sure. The Nuggets, the Timberwolves are definitely going to make it. The Pelicans are going to make it. The Clippers are going to make it. I have my Lakers making it. All of a sudden, that rounds out your top 8. You're looking for a 9 and a 10 seed. We're talking about the Grizzlies. We're talking about the Trailblazers. We're talking about the Kings. I mean, it's 3 spots to fight for the last 2 to get into the play-in tournament. So those would be my top 8 to round out in no order whatsoever. But the Grizzlies could be in a little bit of trouble. I don't see them getting anywhere near the 56 wins that they got to last season. But I thought, once again, like these predictions from top to bottom, I had a great time with them. I know you and Isaiah did as well, and we'll be sure to get Isaiah in on the next one. And before we wrap up the actual show, we got to go through some quick NBA predictions. We've only got 2 games tomorrow night, but they're exciting because we got the 76ers and the Boston Celtics representing the East, and we've got the Los Angeles Lakers and the Golden State Warriors closing out the night in the West. So let's start off with the East. The Celtics open as 2.5-point favorites at home. Do you have the 76ers or do you have the Boston Celtics with your supposed MVP candidate, Jason Tatum?
You are going to be shocked about this, my friend.
Oh,
I
boy.
still have Jason Tatum as the MVP, but I will be going this game with the Philadelphia 76ers. I really do believe in the fact that Jason Tatum, yes, he will win MVP, but I'm going to be honest that this turmoil with the Boston Celtics at the moment doesn't leave me like super high on their early season success when it comes to, yes, they've probably had to learn a little bit new of a coaching style really quickly here at the beginning of the season. Yes, they're a veteran group. They've played together for a while, but like at the same time, this 76ers team has a lot more to prove. The 76ers team has a lot to go and say, hey, we are here to stay. We are here to dominate. We look like title favorites because we want to be. This Boston Celtics team, deep finals run. We see these type of games all the time from teams that just had deep playoff runs. I see the 76ers winning, not by a lot, but I'm going to go and say that the Boston Celtics have a little bit of a slow start to the season and then pick it up towards the end. I'm picking Sixers here.
And it's not a bad bet either. And I actually, Gary, I got to tell you, I put down 2 bets today, one on each game, and I'm here to make money. I'm going with the Philadelphia 76ers in the game, but I didn't bet on the actual winner of this game. What I did bet on is a couple player props. James Harden's over-under for points at alternative points, over 17.5. Not crazy for opening night. James Harden, 17.5. He'll get to the free throw line and probably score 17 points from the free throw line himself. And then Joel Embiid, who averages 12.5 rebounds last season against the Celtics across 4 matchups. I have him at over 8.5 rebounds in this game. I think he's going to go double-double, but I kept it safe, went 8.5 instead of the 9.5. And those odds plus 105. So you're doubling your money, whatever you put down. This is a team that lived and died by the free throw line. They were top 3 last season in free throw attempts at 23.8 free throw attempts per game. And they also were the most accurate team from the free throw line, 82.1%. Joel Embiid, as I mentioned before, 12.5 rebounds a game against the Celtics last season across 4 matchups. Also averaged 24.5 points and 5 assists per game in those matchups. Celtics without Robert Williams. You're basically getting Joel Embiid on Al Horford, and I think Embiid is just light years ahead of most guys playing center, including Al Horford. Not to diss Al Horford, but I think it's just 2 different tiers of players. So I'll go 76ers on this, especially the 2.5 point underdog. But man, oh man, we're both betting the away dog on this one, so that'll be interesting. But I'm excited that's the first game.
I've got to say, we missed it last season. You came in clutch with a lot of these, but I got this ready. That was your Devin Withers lock of the day.
That's right.
We're bringing that back. You got to do that, man. You were last year. You had a great winning record when it came to these NBA bets. I'm excited to see what you do here in the future. I'm going to put that back up there. Remember the Devin Withers lock of the day. James Harden over 17.5 points. Joel Embiid 8.5 rebounds.
Yeah, and let's move into this last game as well because the Warriors are opening as 6-point home favorites against the Los Angeles Lakers. Russell Westbrook, game time decision. Even if he was playing, it seems like he's going to be coming off the bench. Sounds like Kendrick Nunn and Pat Beverly are getting the start in the backcourt. What do you sort of see in this matchup, Lakers and Warriors?
I will say this. I knew, and the reason I picked this team to win is because I do not believe Russell Westbrook will be playing. I have decided to go with the Lakers. I'm picking the Lakers for this matchup. Lakers versus Warriors. You know the Steph Curry, LeBron James debate is going to go on until we die in our old age. But this team right now, if Russell Westbrook does not play, I will be selecting the Los Angeles Lakers. I just see the backcourt that they have there. Kendrick Nunn, a lot of people give him a lot of crap for what he did last season where he didn't play a lot. Maybe he was nursing an injury that, a lot of people said was overblown. But, if you've heard a joint like that before, you know how bad it could be. Kendrick Nunn put up some good stats on a finals team with the Miami Heat. He's a proven player. He can score in this league. Patrick Beverly, a great defender. Then you got guys like LeBron James, Anthony Davis. I mean, this team is primed for success when they want to do it, and what better way to show it off on opening night. So I will be playing the GIF again. We will be going with the Lakers.
I love it.
I wish I had the chain. I really wish I did.
Yeah, listen, I love, especially with the 6-point spread. I'm not totally sold on the Lakers for opening night just because I would love to see Russell Westbrook on opening night, especially if it was off the bench, because I think it's just one of those things in gym class where the really athletic kid just goes on the B shift and just takes advantage of all the bench guys. I think that would have been Russell Westbrook playing with all the backups. But I love it. LeBron James coming off of the season, one of two players to score over 30 points alongside Joel Embiid. He averaged 30.3 points, 8.2 rebounds, and 6.2 assists per game. The Lakers had a crazy bad season, but they were still a top 10 team when it came to field goal percentage and the free throws creations last season. The Warriors, second worst turnover rate in the NBA last season. The Lakers were above the league average when it came to both steals and blocks per game. Now you're adding a defensive monster in Patrick Beverley. You got to assume they're above the league average again. The last time LeBron James saw the Warriors was March of 2022. Let me take you back to the 124-116 win where Anthony Davis didn't play, Draymond Green didn't play, but everyone else was there. Steph Curry was there, Klay Thompson was there, Wiggins was there. He was playing a pretty much healthy team, and his team was not healthy because he was missing his big number two, LeBron James. 56 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists. He just took over, absolute scoring machine, 56 points in a 124-116 win. So I'll tell you where I'm making my money this time around is on some more player props. I have got Steph Curry over 20.5 points. Not crazy at all. Home opening night. It's a guarantee. It's a lock. And you're also getting LeBron James over 35.5 points plus rebounds plus assists. The whole entire stat combo, 35.5 LeBron James, 20.5 Steph Curry, just the points, also at plus 105 odds. Both the bets that I mentioned, plus 105 odds. I think they're both going to hit. I put money down on both of these, and both of them are going to hit. I'm going to be a very rich man. The lock of the day, the lock of the night. LeBron James, Steph Curry on one side, and then Joel Embiid and James Harden on the other side of the conference.
Lock of the day. Oh, it went to the wrong thing. Oh, my goodness. I'm so bad at my job. Lock of the day. We are coming in again this season. Love it. Love it. No, I couldn't agree more. I'm excited to see this high scoring game. First day of the NBA season. Let's go. I want it in the 130s here. I want an overtime game.
Yeah.
I want to annoy everyone that I live next to and scream my head off. I'm excited.
I'm excited too, man. I'm glad we got to do this. We definitely did run a little long, almost an hour and a half, but I mean, we went through an entire preview. We went through the opening night preview. We went through all of the Warriors drama, which could have taken us a lot longer than it actually did. So I'm ready to go tomorrow night, and we'll be back here hopefully next week again, and we'll be talking about the opening week of NBA action, and we'll, definitely have some more deep takes from you guys, some more locks of the day, and be sure to tune in at theathleteshub.org for all of our greatest content from myself, Gary, Isaiah, and the rest of the team. We've got podcasts, free baseball, the False Nine, I hear from my inside sources, are going to be coming back sooner than later, so that's going to be exciting too. And
hashtag bring back the False Nine.
That's right. That's right. So be sure to check us out on all platforms, Facebook, Twitter, etc. And we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Peace out.
And I just want to say something about Giannis real quick, adding his jump shot, maybe a hot take. I don't know. I think if he adds a jump, like a real 3-point shot where he's like a true threat from there, I think we might be talking about a player that's going to have the highest peak of any player in NBA history in terms of skill, more than Jordan. I'm not going to say he's the greatest of all time. He doesn't have the accolades. But in terms of skill and peak, like what can you do to stop him? He's going to get you defensively. If he can knock down a 3-point shot, he could shoot down a mid-range. He's starting to make his free throws. He's dominant on the inside. What is the flaw in his game if he adds that? He's even not a bad passer. He has the ability, if he needs to kick it out to somebody.
Is there a path in which Steph Curry can get to the top 5 greatest of all time?
In my opinion, Domantas Sabonis kind of overrated.